first known rules of golf were drawn up in 1744 by the gentlemen golfers of Edinburgh in Leith, Scotland. Since then, the game has changed dramatically. Golf courses, equipment, and not least the rules. So where do I go when I want to learn about the rules of the game today? Well, I go to the Golf Rules Questions podcast with Blakey and Roscoe, of course. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast.
Well, hello. Yes, it's that time of the week when you get your weekly dose of golf rules knowledge via the Golf Rules Questions podcast, hosted by the Golf Rules guru himself, Blakey, and just ably assisted by me, Roscoe, pressing the buttons. Blakey, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Going well, Roscoe. I've missed you. How was your break?
The little sabbatical up in Bright, country, rural Victoria, for those listening overseas, and thank you for tuning in from whatever part of the world that you choose to tune into. That's two mugs sitting here in Australia doing this. Bright, it's in the high country of not New South Wales, Victoria, and it's very beautiful. Had a little bit of a squiz at Bright Golf Course, and wow, what a great little facility that is. Beautiful part of the world, Blakey.
And you've got another trip coming up this week, is that correct?
Very excited. It has been a long time in the waiting. I haven't really, obviously planned a Barnbougle trip over the years, and I've just never had the opportunity, never had the people to go with, or tried to organise a couple, but you try and get these trips to go with 8-10 people, and there's always 2 or 3 that pull out at the end, so it just never happened. But there's just a little group of 4 of us going down to Barnbougle next week, so it's my first time. I'm very excited. I can't wait. And so I'll be down there next week playing some. I think we can do like 18 holes, 36 and 36. So we're there for 3 days. So
that's
big. Looking forward to it.
It's all walking as well. There's no carts, is there?
Oh, I'm ready for that.
Make sure you take a photo of the local rules there. I'd be interested in seeing them.
I will be taking many photos, and if you do follow myself on either of the other Instagram accounts that seem to take up too much time of my life, ross.flanagan.golf or at Mile of Golf, which is the other podcast that we do, you'll probably see a lot of Barnbougle spam.
I'll certainly be watching out for it. I'll be interested.
Oh, well, that's what we do, Blakey. That's why we're here, sitting here talking to people who, the 6 people that choose to listen, and that's why we do it.
Oh, no, we've been getting a few more listens, a few more viewers on the YouTube as well, so it's going really well. And, the feedback is, apart from us wittering on, the feedback is that most enjoy this. Even my dad said that he watched 2 episodes in a row the other day on YouTube. So, it's not like he has to. Of course he does, but he wants to as well, so that really helps.
Big afternoon on the couch north of Dunedin there for Mr. Blake. And g'day to you, Mr. Blake. I'm not actually sure if you are in the north of Dunedin. I know you're in the surrounds of Dunedin, somewhere over there in the beautiful part of the South Island of New Zealand. What a great place it is. But thank you for adding to the downloads. But yeah, no, you're right, mate. We have some fun, and this is your show, and this is a great service to the golfers of the world, helping them understand a little bit more about rules and being responsible to the rules, and just really helping people, appreciate golf and using the tools that we have to that allow us to appreciate it. And this week's episode, and getting back onto the point, has a great load of information. We've got last week's question to answer. That was a multifaceted question, if I can ever sort of think of one. We've got this week's question to go through, which is another doozy, let me say. It's another ding-dong, as I like to say. And we've got a couple of great videos and little scenarios to unpack from last week's golf and the previous week's golf. Certainly there's always some situations, scenarios and imbroglios that follow the great man, the enigma. Love him or hate him, whatever way you want to sort of call him, Bryson DeChambeau. He's bringing eyeballs to the game, so we've got a bit of a Bryson update. We've got one of the finest golfers to come out of the UK, Justin Rose. He has a situation that you want to talk about, and and I think that pretty much covered it. We've got a bit of background bingo. I think you're going to call an Ivor on yourself. Great use of the English language again, Blakey. So, why don't we go back to last week's question and unpack that?
Yeah, this is a good one, and talking about the tools and the appreciation of the game, this certainly dives into it. So you want to rip out the question, and I'll go through the answer.
Okay, so just to recover what last week's question was, so we had a bit of a laugh. You've typed here Fraz. I read it as Fraz, but it really was Fraz.
That was really good. That Fraser himself couldn't stop laughing about that one, so we got a really good reaction from that.
Well, just to explain, I'm reading Blakey's question off a little note sheet here, obviously, because we do a little bit of planning and preparation. Not a lot, but a bit of planning and preparation goes into bringing this to you. Blakey's written Fraz as Fraz, F-R-A-Z. I'd say Fraz. He says Fraz, but it is Fraz, and Fraz Nickel over there in the UK. G'day to you. So let's just go. Fraz hits his tee shot into some medium rough. He searches for his ball in the rough and finds it. Fraz then goes to get a club, and on the way back he accidentally steps on his ball. He then decides to take an unplayable, and after dropping his ball, hits it onto the green and makes a one putt. Well done. How many strokes did Fraz have? It's a tricky one.
So this is a tricky question, and it's a tricky question because it had a few holes in it. Now I've written down so that I don't miss any. It was a little bit deliberate to make this question like this with a few holes in it, because I wanted the audience to actually come back to me and say, oh, well, you've missed this and you've missed this, and that's fine for you to do that, to question and ask questions trying to find out further information. So firstly, Fraz found his ball, but was it within 3 minutes? There was no talk of time. So most would just assume, okay, that's fine, it's within the 3 minutes, but that's a question that you want to ask. How long did it take until Fraz found his ball from when he first started searching? Now, the starting of the search is when the player gets there or gets to the position where the location where they think their ball is, and they've started their search, or their caddy, whoever gets there first, him, the caddy, or if you're in a four ball, your partner or your partner's caddy. So first question is, how long did it actually take? If it was under 3 minutes, then that's the ball in play. If it's over 3 minutes, then he has to go back to his previous place played from. Secondly, Fraz goes back to grab a club, and then when coming back to his ball he had previously found, he accidentally steps on it. Did Fraz lose sight of it and was searching for it again? That is a possibility. I mean, if you think about it, it's in the long rough, you go back to get a club, you come back, and now you're looking for it. So, you're looking for it. Where was it? I think it was over here. Maybe you've put down a hat, maybe you put down a glove previously, but you don't have to, and now you've accidentally lost it. Now, there's a couple of things here. If you start searching for it again, that adds on to the search time that you had before. So if you found it within 2 minutes 50, and then you do another 20-second search, even though you had already found it, that's now 3 minutes 10 and your ball's lost. So very important. Was he actually searching for it, or was he just looking out, someone else is playing over there in the distance, or there's a group ahead that just walked off the green, he realizes it's his shot, something like that, accidentally steps on his ball when not searching for it. So if he was searching for it, no penalty. If he wasn't searching for it, then let's go to the next spot. Thirdly, by Fraz stepping on the ball, did the ball move? So if he was searching for it, it doesn't matter. If he wasn't searching for it, if it didn't move, then there's no penalty. If the ball did move, then Fraz incurs a one-stroke penalty and must replace the ball. However, it is in my strong opinion, I would be 99.9% certain that a ball would have moved if you stood on it. You'd have to be a pretty good lawyer to convince me otherwise. Now, fourthly, Fraz then takes a penalty stroke for an unplayable. This does not absolve Fraz from accidentally stepping and causing his ball to move. So the only way that he can get out of the penalty for causing his ball to move if it was during a search. But if it wasn't during the search, as we said, he still gets that penalty. Taking an unplayable is another penalty stroke. but he doesn't actually have to replace the ball that he caused to move by standing on it if he proceeds under that unplayable. He can just go, well, that's where it was that when I moved it, so I've got my 2 club length lateral or my back in the line from that spot or previous place played. Takes a drop, correct drop, hits it on the green, makes a putt, and if all the assumptions were that he found it within 3 minutes, he stood on it accidentally whilst not in a search, which is a penalty, took an unplayable, and then dropped and hit it, and on the green, 1 putt, that would be a 5. So if you got a 5, I'd be pretty happy that was the correct answer. But I would have preferred you to come back to me and say, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? Yes, that might make me a little bit busier, but that is on me. You know, if I ask a terrible question, it's for you, the listener and the viewer, to come to me and say, well, you know, you haven't really given us enough information. That's fine. That's what I want. That's what I want. You know, if there's not enough information for you to make a decision, then you need to come back and ask for that information, because if you're out in the golf course, this is exactly the scenario that would happen. Someone comes over you, and there's always, Roscoe, you probably agree with this, there's always his side, her side, and the truth. So you just need to find out all the facts. And, you know, it could be that the facts aren't found out until later on. And so the decision that was made at the time could have been exactly right, even though more facts come to light later on. So a little bit of a tricky question, but that hopefully will help you to work out these answers on your journey.
So was that an actual real-life scenario that Fraz had faced?
No, it wasn't, but I would be 90% certain that would have happened in the last 10 years somewhere around this earth.
So the stepping on your ball and taking it unplayable, so that's because you've obviously maybe embedded it, you know, buried it into the grass a bit further, and you just can't get a shot at it. It's unusual, unlikely to think that you stand on your ball in the rough here, that you're going to embed it unless it's in some deep grass. But maybe over in the UK, you know, you step on it and it buries it into some soft turf or something like that. So,
well, it's not so much that you've stood on it and embedded it. It's more so if you stood on it and it goes down, then you have to replace it. And if you've changed the lie, if you've altered the lie, then you need to replace it in the most similar lie. Obviously, if you have created this embedded mark, then you're not able to lift the turf back up. It's different in sand, but you're not able to lift the turf back up, so you just place it to the side, basically. Then you know your position, and then you can take an unplayable from there. You know, I think last week we gave the example of taking an unplayable because, you know, Fraz, then their ball was right beside a tree or whatever it was. Okay,
so does that answer the question sufficiently for you, Blakey?
Yeah. I mean, that's an oversupply, and hopefully everyone sort of understands that, you know, there's more to it. And especially if you're on a committee, you need to find out all the information. You need to find out the information from the player, anyone who saw it, you know, and then how the rules do apply in the situation.
I wonder how many people, because that happens to me a bit, you know, at Peninsula, hitting it left or right into the deep Kagari, you know, sometimes looking for the ball. You know, you'll find it at the 2 minutes 50 mark or whatever the timing suggests. I'm a classic one because I don't like, as you can see if you're watching the video on the YouTube, the great YouTube resource that is Golf Rules Questions, I don't like taking my hat off. So I'm not one to take my hat off and plop it on the grass. And, you know, I have this little internal conversation with myself going, you should put your hat on the grass because you're not going to come back and find that, because the clubs are on the fairway, I'm up in the rough, I don't put the hat on it and go back up. And I'm sure that the people, a lot of people aren't aware that your 3 minutes keeps going. And, you know, if you take another 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, 55 seconds or 45 seconds or anything more than 10 seconds, you've spent over 3 minutes looking for your ball. So
yeah. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because like you as soon as you find it, the clock stops, right? You walk back to your bag, the clock is still stopped because your intention is you're not searching, right? Then as soon as you come back and you get to that area that you think it is and you can't see it, now you're started searching. What about the glove? Have you ever chucked the glove off and put it down?
No. Well, I have over the journey, but it's not something that I do now because I don't take my glove off at all. Once again, I don't take my hat off because I've got no hair and I don't want to get sun on there. And I don't wear two gloves. I'm not a Terry two gloves, but I do Tommy two gloves Gainey. I wear one glove, and because I get a little bit of sun damage on one hand, I just don't take it off. I putt with my glove on. I don't take it off at all. So I wouldn't put my glove down because I just don't take it off.
Yeah.
So I've left a club there before, and I couldn't find that either.
Well, I was going to say that. I've seen people actually leave clubs and then lose their club.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Not only have they lost a ball, they've lost their club.
So it's something that I make a conscious decision of. But yeah, you're right. But it's a good one. That's probably a very relevant point there. If you lose your ball, if you find it 2 minutes 50, 2 minutes 55, if you go back and can't find it, that someone call. You've got to be conscious of that. Not someone calls you on it. You've got to call yourself. But you can't go over 3 minutes to look for your ball first time, second time, or third time if it's in the same spot. Very good.
No worries. Let's get on to Paddy Reed. I think was our first one.
Okay. Do we have a Paddy Reed video?
No, we don't. If anyone wants to see this, it was just a bit of dusting around his ball, and it caused the media to up in arms. It causes the whole population up in arms.
Well, hang on.
It's just a case of his ball was there, and he was sort of grabbing at some stuff, and no one could see any loose impediments or anything like that. There was,
mate. He was at it again. Here, I'm going to say, and I'm going to put it out there. And if you're a Paddy Reed fan, Paddy, and this isn't against Pat. This is against Patrick Reed, let's be honest.
It is against.
We've been against him a couple of times, and many, many people have. It just is a bad look. And, there was no loose impediments there. It was like he was whippersnippering around there. It was like he was pulling little bits of grass out. You can just see he's making pincer movements with his fingers. I'm making exaggerated pincer movements at the screen. I'm getting agitated by it. He was like pincering around there. Maybe I'm embellishing it a little bit and putting a bit of sauce on it, but it's just another example of him being silly. And the eyes of the golfing globe are on him. The cameras are on him. He knows that, and he's got form, and he just needs to stay away from it because he's a good golfer. He is a good golfer.
This is the issue that, Patrick Reed, the person, that's not who we're attacking, but Patrick Reed, as I called in one of my blogs, the modern day villain, the person that tries to get around the rules of golf. We just don't like that. That's not what golf is about. You just shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. If you are doing it thinking that if you're thinking about how you can get away with stuff in golf, then golf shouldn't be for you.
The problem I have is we've got people listening to this who are interested in doing the right thing by the rules, but there are 85 million bazillion people who don't listen to this podcast because we know there are only 6 people who listen to it, of course. That look at Patrick Reed and take that as the example. That take what he's doing as, well, if he can do it, I can do it. This plethora of new golfers that are coming to the game of golf. You can see some of them standing behind me there in the background bingo for this week. These guys that we're hanging out with, all relatively new. Now, they're not as interested. People like that aren't as interested in playing by the rules at this stage. Not playing by the rules, that's not right. But their knowledge of the rules isn't as advanced. But they watch Patrick Reed and they're taking their cues from someone like that. So this is a thing. In the PGA Tour, people who you want to work for at some stage, and hopefully one day that you will get to work for them because you will do the right thing. They're tacitly approving it, and when you tacitly approve it, it becomes approval for everyone who's then party to watching it. And I just don't understand it, Blakey. Sorry, rant over.
No, well, we're both on the same page. I totally agree. It's I just wish that like someone like Lee Westwood, he should get more time on the screen because he plays by the rules of golf, plays in the spirit of the game. Unfortunately, we're getting a lot of screen time of the people that are breaking the rules, and a lot of people will see that and they won't realise that that's not what you do and not how you play the game. So it's a bit of a shame there.
Lee Westwood is and always has been one of my favourite golfers. In the journey of watching European golfers and British golfers, and Lee Westwood, good Nottingham Forest fan, always been a fan of Lee, and like to see what happened to him in that final hole, in the it was the final hole, wasn't it? It was the last hole where he was in the divot.
Yeah.
So in contention in a divot, and not 1 ounce of moan for being in a divot. He just got on with it and made the best fist of it. There was no should divots, and that's what ensued after it. Should we get relief from divots? And we've talked about that before. What the question is around divots is what becomes a divot. Like it's a repairing divot. Is it a divot or is it a repaired divot? So he just got on with it, and that's what I like about Lee Westwood, and the fact that he's approaching 50 and still in contention in big tournaments against big guns like Bryson DeChambeau just proves that it's a game for everyone.
Yeah, that is right. I mean, how often are you going to see a 23-year-old play against a 45-year-old in an international sporting stage?
That's why we love it. So,
right.
Okay, Patrick Reed, no more whippersnippering around the ball. Just leave your fingers away from it, son.
Let's just hope that he gets caught like red-handed and gets suspended for 6 months.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so we've got
Justin Rose.
Let's roll some of this footage that we've got. As we said before, you can get all of this over on the Golf Rules Questions YouTube. Go over there and subscribe. We're trying to get to 4,000. It's not a activation point for any of our travels. Where 5,000 is the next activation point. Is that right?
Yeah, Barnbougle. So can you give me some tips when you go down there and come back? Bring back the tips, and we might be down there mid-June at this rate. So I wonder what the weather will be like in mid-June.
Perfect time of year to go to Barnbougle. Well, there is another wonderful destination in Tasmania. If this is an unsponsored for promotion for Tasmania, there's King Island, and you haven't been to King Island, have you?
No, I haven't. That's just off the coast of the west coast of Tasmania, I think.
I've been to King Island. Maybe we could go to King Island instead. I'd love to go back there. So 5,000 YouTube subscribers is the activation point for the Tasmania Golf Rules Questions Tour.
In the middle of June, I think we'd be better off going to Northern Territory or like Darwin or Cairns or Townsville or something.
Well, we're allowed to change the destinations of the activation points. We've just got to get to the activation point. So jump on and subscribe to the YouTube page, please. This video is on that. Let's play that.
Justin Rose. Greenside bunker. Whoa. That was unexpected.
The dreaded shank. 35-yard bunker shot. So awkward. You're trying to pick it cleanly.
Yeah, so just a real quick one there, and we'll just want to explain this. It's easier, as Roscoe said, to head over to the YouTube site and see the whole video. Justin hit out of 35 yards to the flag, but hit a shank, which went, almost directly sideways. Came to rest right beside a sponsor's product. This was at the Arnold Palmer, which Justin pulled out of, citing back spasms, and came up to rest beside a Ram truck. Now, that is a movable obstruction if the keys are in it, which I think we mentioned possibly last week. If the keys are in it, or the keys are nearby if someone's driving the truck. Otherwise, if it's not movable because the keys aren't close by, then it becomes an immovable obstruction. So he can either take relief under 16.1, or because in this situation you have to go and have a look, there's a TV tower actually on his line of play, or there's a ShotLink tower for the data. And so Justin actually ended up getting TIO relief. So he could choose either. He could choose relief from the immovable obstruction or choose relief from the TIO. He chose the TIO, and that got him relief from both. Whereas if he'd chosen the IO relief just for his swing, that probably only would have given him relief from the truck and not from the shot-linked tower, which is really what he wanted relief for in the first place. So he got to move it to the side, and we've talked about TIOs. You find the edge of the TIO, the nearest edge. Now there are some small, I'm going to get this wrong, iterations for the local rule as to how the committee write it. But you find the outside edge, the nearest outside edge. Some, like what I'm saying is some tours will allow either edge. So they'll say you can go either side. With the PGA Tour, they're pretty strict on this and they just play the rule, which is the nearest side. And you find that edge, you get another club length from that edge, making your actual edge, if that makes sense. And then you drop the ball within a club length from there. So they give you an extra club length from the actual edge. And then from there, you get a club length, which is your relief area. Now, on the local rules, they will say which obstructions are temporary immovable ones. So the truck could have actually been a temporary immovable obstruction if written down on the local rules. Shot link towers, TV towers, sponsors signs, sponsors trucks. I wouldn't have thought that they would do that for this one, but it's just it's all whatever the committee wants. But anyway, just a real quick one. He could take relief from either. He took relief from the tower because it was on his line of play and it was a TIO. There's no line of play relief for an IO. It's only for a TIO. And he took relief and then he hit it on the green, had a 2-putt for a bogey, and I think he pulled out about 12 holes later.
I don't think he's playing this week either at the Waste Management, the Players Championship.
5th major.
Yep. Okay. Very well explained. Now, we've got this next scenario, which you've titled Bryson Doesn't Let Go.
Yeah.
He certainly doesn't let go when he's hitting 350-yard bombs. He's giving it the full berries there, but this was a bit different, this situation. So let's, do you want to set that up? Do you want to set the...
No.
Just play the video?
Out and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Raj?
Well, there's a sprinkler up ahead of him to the left. He's within 2 club lengths of it, and it's within 2 club lengths of the green, but I don't think it's in his line.
Okay.
He's asking if he can move it.
Yeah, you're entitled to it. Okay. So get to where it's not on your line of play. So probably right there, I'd say. It's still like in the edge. Yeah, go a little bit there. Right there. Yeah. And then you got 1 club length. And I drop it? Yeah, you're going to drop it. We clean it through, right? And I can go to the fringe, right? Yes, sir. Well, good break here, Roger.
Yeah, a little puzzling to me because that's to the left of his line where his ball is sitting. So I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, the PGA Tour official right there on site, so giving him the ruling. Can I line it up? Clearly determined that it was an issue.
He's dropped the ball twice, went forward, went on to the putting surface. He cannot drop a ball off a putting surface onto a putting surface, so now placing it.
And now it will clearly be a putt.
Well, there you go. Bryson has created a scenario for obviously the commentators there. They didn't really get their heads around what was going on. And then there's another part of that, in the title, Doesn't Let Go, that's worth explaining there.
Yeah, so Roger Maltby was a little bit confused because I think Roger was standing directly behind Bryson on the line to the flag, and he couldn't see that Bryson's line of play. Now, this is an interesting sort of point here, and you can go and see the video. It's obviously easier to watch the video.
Yeah, just to set it up, so he's at the side of a green. There's a sprinkler head there.
Yeah, so he's hit a shot in, and he's off the green, and there's a sprinkler head. Now, this is where I got a little bit wasn't sure. Because I actually thought that he might be standing on the sprinkler head. Roger didn't really think that he was, but I thought that is what he would have got relief from. But you actually see in the video that he's with the referee saying, well, that's definitely on my line of play. Now, I would say that the sprinkler head was between his ball and the flag. But if he was to putt, I don't believe that his line of play would have been straight over that sprinkler head, because there was a curve, there was a little bit of a tear in the green, and he would have had to aim out to the right. So, the referee has to judge that as well. They have to say, well, is this actually in your line of play? I mean, if you have a massive slope up the right-hand side, and you're saying, well, I'm just going to hit it straight at the hole, and the referee goes, mate, if you hit it straight at the hole, it's going to go in the penalty area. You're going to have to aim up that way. Then, they're going to deny the relief if there's no interference by an IO. Now, firstly, I should have said the sprinkler head, the immovable obstruction around the green, relief for that has to be a local rule. So if your ball is not on the green, you don't automatically get free relief unless the local rule is in play. For Australian courses, I would say 95% of Australian courses would have this local rule in play.
Usually on the back. On the back of the card. On the back of the card, you'll see it on the back of the card written.
Yeah, back of the card, or on the website if some clubs have their local rules on the website, or definitely on the notice board. They certainly should have it there. Whatever easy access it is for golfers to get to. Right, so then I've detailed in this video that there's 3 things that you need to accomplish here to be able to get free relief. It's on your line of play. Now, line of play, as I said, is not specifically a direct line at the flag. Depending on the curvature of the earth, depending on the curvature of the borrow of the shot, it could be a little bit out to the right, the left, whatever. But it has to be on your line of play. It has to be within 2 club lengths of your. The ball has to be within 2 club lengths of the immovable obstruction. In this case, it's a sprinkler head. Usually, it's a sprinkler head. The sprinkler head or the immovable obstruction has to be within 2 club lengths of the green. If you don't have all 3 of those, you don't get free relief. Now, the PGA, I believe, they add an extra one in there, an extra requirement that both the ball and the immovable obstruction must be in the grass cut to fairway height or less. But if that isn't true and someone knows that's not true, please shout out and tell me that I'm wrong. But I believe that is what their current local rule is written. Anyway, I thought that Bryson would have been standing on it, but they went for the line of play. He got free relief. Okay, fine. The referee's made a determination. So the second part to this video and why the title is Bryson Doesn't Let Go is there were a lot of queries about Bryson letting go of the ball because he dropped it, rolled onto the green, rolled onto the green, so he had to replace it or place it on the first spot where it hit on the redrop. So he places it, and everyone was up in arms about this because he places it, and then it looks like he takes his hand off it and then lines it up. Now, because he's not on the green, once you replace it, once you let go of it, you aren't permitted to then come back and then try and adjust it so that your line is lining up with your line of play. On the green, it's fine if you've got your marker down because you're always permitted to adjust your ball, put a marker behind your ball and pick it up and clean. You're always allowed to do that when the ball's on the green. When the ball's not on the green in the general area, it's a different story. So once you've replaced it, and what does it mean to replace it? It means to let go of the ball so that it's at rest and that's it. The ball, you had the intention to put the ball back in play. So the ball is now back in play. And so it was all a case of has Bryson let go or not? And it's pretty hard to see, but to my eye, he's just not quite let go, but actually just adjusted his hand around the ball, and it looked dodgy, but it was fine.
He did say he did ask if he could line it up, and the referee did say yes, you can. So yeah, you can see how people would ask the question, but to me, on the glance of what you could see on the TV and the video, it just looked like he was rotating the ball whilst it was still in his fingers.
Yeah, so there's an interpretation about orientation, which way you can lay the ball down. You can, when replacing the ball, you can put in any orientation you want, as long as it is back in the correct location, as long as it's back in the location that it is supposed to be. Now, there's a funny sort of example in that interpretation about when there's mud on your ball, and if the mud on the ball was on the course side, if it was like teed up with the mud on the ball, you wouldn't actually be allowed to turn it upside down and put the mud on top of the ball, because that means that your ball might be a millimetre lower than it should be. So you actually haven't replaced it in the correct location. How often is that going to happen? Not sure, but It's in there anyway.
Well, maybe the reason why the referee didn't argue with Bryson in terms of the line of play is because why would you argue with the man that has every bit of equipment and knowledge and physics knowledge and measurement devices and knowledge to ascertain what is the line of play? Did he have the compass out? Did he have the protractor out? Did he have the what are those? Those two back in tech drawing, which I failed. The two prong things that you just measure the distance from. Did he have that out?
This is a thing that it confuses me, because there's two types of, or there's more than one type of compass. The one that we're going to get to in the next video, and then the one that has the two prongs, which you create a circle or whatever, which the PGA Tour said you can't use that, Bryson, but you can use the other type of compass. So let's. So I think we're happy with the breakdown of that one. Let's go on to Bryson.
Well, so what we're talking about now is it Bay Hill, which has that famous hole there, which anyone who hits long bombs tries to go straight at the green. It's like a 340 plus yard carry. There's numerous videos of dudes out there trying to go after it. Well, Bryson pretty much nailed it on the weekend, and it's caused a whole load of social media sort of not furor, that's not the right word, but it's blown it up, put it that way, of him hitting golf balls an incredible distance. And we'll talk about what it created at the Players next week, but in this example, which we'll play right now, he was using a compass to ascertain which way he was going to go. So we were bemused by that. So let's play this video.
Been spurred on, and how about the wind today, Gary?
Well, it's helping and from the right, so it's fairly similar to what it was yesterday. And we see there 342-yard carry going directly at the green. Now, yesterday's ball ended up some 370 yards, but it was calculated that it carried some 346 yards in the air. That's not a lot of room for error if you go directly at it.
He's going to have to scorch it on the right trajectory and hope the wind doesn't knock it down, Gary. That's the one thing I wonder, if the wind's blowing so hard that it can help hurt the ball flight.
Well, actually, where he put the ball yesterday, near that that bunker.
Surely he can't go at it today, can he? Tied for the lead?
Yeah, so it might have been another 30 seconds after that, we see that the caddy has brought out the compass and is looking at the wind direction. He's looking at the direction of the hole and, where they think that the landing zone is. And, the wind, knowing that they would have found out the information about the wind prior to teeing off. I mean, you could do it. You could do it there, but you can find out information about the wind from a weather station, but you have to use your mobile. And I think on tour they have terms of competition that you're not allowed to get your mobile phone out whilst you're during a round. So whereas club golfers like you and me could check out the BOM website, which is in Australia the Bureau of Meteorology, they wouldn't be able to do that on tour. But they would have had the information prior, okay, the wind's going to be whatever it was, northwest, 40 or 25 miles an hour or whatever it was. So they've got the compass out going, yep, that looks fine. I mean, it seems redundant to me because you just know which way the wind's blowing and throwing some grass up or whatever. But, you know, that's why they're making millions of dollars. I'm not.
Well, there's only one player on tour doing it. It's Bryson DeChambeau, and he's pulled every geometric measuring tool in the world out to use, or questioned whether he can use it, or told people that he does use it in practice. So that's why it's happened. But you're right. Most of the normal golfers throw a bit of wind up, a bit of grass up, and work out what their landing point is and their target, and just see the target and hit the ball to the target. But he pulled it off. He hit it 340 million yards, and I think he still made a 4 on that hole. Did he? Did he make a 4? And Lee Westwood had like a 4-iron in, and he had like a sand wedge in, and they both made 4. I thought it was good.
Yeah, well, I don't think he hit the green both times on the Saturday, Sunday. He didn't hit the green in 2. I think he was just off the putting surface. So, but he hit it so far. He actually could have gone straight at the green. Like it flew further. It was like a 340 carry, and he flew it like 370. So he actually could have gone straight at the green. But the really interesting thing, it's a long video, but he's waiting for 2 minutes. So the group in front had to hit their seconds, and a couple of them went for it, a couple of them laid up, blah blah blah. But then the ones that laid up, he had to wait for them as well. So he had to wait for the guys hitting their second. He had to wait for the other guys hitting their third, and he only pulled the trigger when they were walking onto the putting surface. I mean, he's a slow player, but in this instance, it was justified. I mean, incredible.
What do you think of, if you're listening, what do you think of the world of Bryson DeChambeau and what he's doing and what he's creating? Are you, pro the eyeballs that he brings to the game? Are you a fan of the distances that he's going? The rollbackers amongst us, don't believe that the ball should be travelling that far, and that's one of the things that are putting courses like, even Bay Hill, which is a toughie, bringing that, putting that sort of redundant, St Andrew. You think about some of the fine links courses, the distances that the ball's travelling, making it redundant these days. I'd be interested to hear what you think, because there's many, many debates and schools of thoughts around all of that. So if you do want to share, please drop Blakey a line, send him an email, send him a message, smoke signal, whatever you do.
Yeah, I like what he's doing for the game. He's a weird cat, but I like what he's doing for the game. I don't like the fact that the ball travels so far that it sort of, on 16 at Sawgrass during the Players' Championship on first day, he hit driver 9-iron on the 16th hole, and it was an easy 9-iron. I reckon he could have got there with wedge. It's cool sometimes when those par 5s and you turn them into a driver wedge, but some of those 420 metre par 4s, when you're turning that into half a wedge, just seems like you're taking bunkers out of play, you're taking penalty areas out of play. I just personally don't like it.
I'm on the side of, it's hard for me to say what side I'm on, because, I've got feet in many, many camps. I've got the feet in, the history of the game camp. I've got the feet in peddling this stuff, and which I'd love to see a tournament ball in play, made to a specification and a formula. As I've said on numerous podcasts, motorsport, a great way of changing the rules to suit the product, to make the product more interesting, to make it more safe, to make it slower, to make it faster. They can change the rules to suit what the audience wants. And this game that they're playing is all about the audience. It's all about eyeballs on the sport. So I think every manufacturer could build a ball to a formula, and they can still have their stamps on it, and still it's not going to affect what you and me, you and I buy, off someone like me. We're still going to sell golf balls, and we're still going to lose golf balls, and we're still going to have our brand alignments and still have our preferences, and the whole golf ball market itself is built around building products that suit individuals. Like the ball that I use is different to the ball that my dad uses, and so on and so forth. So they can build a ball for this game at the professional level, and those of us that have got some experience on our side, remember the age of the Bellata, and what that did for the game, and not what it did for the game in terms of eyeballs, because we didn't know anything different back then, but what it did for the game in terms of standing out great ball strikers, standing out people who could just bunt their ball around and still get up and down. Look back at Greg Norman. He was the longest by far, but he was long and could control the ball. Then look at Sevi. He hit it everywhere. But this Bellata ball, for those that haven't experienced a Bellata, it spins a lot. It goes high. You had to control it, and you don't have to control these new modern golf balls as much. They still spin a lot at the green. They don't spin off the driver. That's the thing. They don't spin off the driver. Now the Bellata ball, if you put any little bit of inside path and closed face on it, it was going left with more left. Or if you put any bit of outside path with open face at impact, it was going high and cutting. You had to deliver the club face at impact back to the ball to make it go exactly where you wanted it to go. Otherwise, it was hooking or spinning, and the modern balls just don't do that. But they still stop at the green. They still spin at the green because that's the benefit of urethane, that very thin layer on the outside of the modern ball. That's where you get your check from at the green, and they all do that. So anyway, just another rant from me. It would appear. But
I'm on the same camp. Roscoe, I don't mind that the ball goes 300 or 400. I just wish that you had to hit it perfectly to make it go that far. And if you don't, and you get, it just spins more, And so then we do place a higher degree on accuracy.
The equipment's another argument, and the full on rollbackers would argue that equipment's a challenge as well, and the size of the driver and the forgiveness of drivers, making less than wonderful ball strikers, giving them more of an advantage. And the example that I cite is Adam Scott, who just hits it out of the centre of the driver with very high degree of efficacy more often. So he gets disadvantaged by not being the longest, although he's still very long, but he hits it very straight very often. Now, some of the bombers don't hit it as straight, but they hit it very fast. So they're getting that sort of distance advantage, where Adam's hitting an 8-iron in, they're hitting lob wedge, and the Bryson story is part of that. So, that's the equipment side, but I don't think the equipment needs to change for... Anyway, I'll just leave it there. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Now, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Background bingo. We'll wrap this up and bring it home. Background bingo for last week. I don't think anyone got that. Andrew Miller, you didn't get that. I had the wonderful short links, talking about length of golf courses. Very appropriate that we flicked at Kilspindy in East Lothian, Scotland. One of my favourite golf courses. I've only played it once, but it quickly became one of my favourite little places to play golf, and I can't wait to get back there. It's about 5,500 yards, and not more a fun place that you'll have, if I can say that. It's an unbelievable place. So that was Kilspindy, a little drone shot that I took one morning. It was a bit cloudy, but I popped the drone up over Kilspindy, which obviously adjoins my other home of golf in Scotland, Craigielaw, and separated by a crumbly old stone wall. So that was Kilspindy. No one got it. Wonderful place. No.
And mine was at the bottom of the Grampians in Victoria, a little sand green or sand scrape course called Dunkeld, or it's near Dunkeld. It's called the Grampians Golf Club. I actually haven't played it, but I probably will soon, considering some friends of mine just moved to that part of the world. So I'm sure I'll get out there. I'm not so much a fan of sand greens. I just can't play them. They're actually quite tricky. You can't land your ball on the green on the full, otherwise it just bounces off. So you got to bounce it in. But that course and the view, the vista, looks amazing. So I definitely want to get out and have a go at it.
If you are listening from overseas in the UK or the States and you hear sand greens, what's Blakey talking about? Obviously, the conditions in Australia vast and varied. So when you go, away from the coast, it's much drier. Water is very precious. Whatever water there is, it's usually allocated or somewhat rationed. You could say. You have to buy it if you're a farmer to pump it onto your crop. So it's used for where it's needed, and pumping it onto golf greens probably isn't defined as being the absolute requirement. They need it for the fairways and the tees and all of the essential stuff. So what they do is they make a very small green with a sand and an oil mix, and it's flat, very small. You get a rake. You're allowed to rake your line. It's quite unique. I'm not sure what other parts of the world use sand greens, and the sand is mixed with oil. So it allows it to, when you rake it or roll it or smooth it out, you're allowed to have a very smooth surface. But it's a bit messy. I see a lot of golfers come from the Western Districts with play on sand scrapes, and their shoes, when they bring their shoes in for respiking, you don't want to touch those because they're oily and black and yucky. It's an interesting. I've never done it actually. That's one of the things that we should do on the country trip, the activated country trip, is go and see a sand scrape. I would like to go to Dunkeld because just going back to Scotland for a second. Dunkeld in Scotland is a very near and dear place to me. It's the home of the museum for the regiment, the Scottish Horse, which my grandfather represented Scotland in the military services, and Dunkeld is the home of the Scottish Horse Regiment. Beautiful part of Scotland, just sort of south of Perth. Beautiful. Should go there. So Dunkeld, beautiful in Australia, also beautiful in Scotland. There you go.
The reason that they put the oil in the sand is a little bit for smoothing it out, but it's mainly so the sand doesn't blow away.
Yeah.
Now, your this week background bingo, you've got a few people in your background there.
Yes. Well, the only hint that I'll give is that I'm a big fan of public golf. And there's been a bit of challenges across the board and a bit of brouhaha on the Twitter sphere about public golf taking up land that is required for everyone and not the golfers. Well, there's 15 odd golfers there playing on an afternoon. So keep your hands off our public golf courses because we're not all fortunate enough to be members of, whether it's private, whether it's semi-private or whatever. Not everyone comes into golf as a member of a club. Certainly that's a pathway for them to get access to regular golf, but public golfers need public golf space, and this course is one of those public golf spaces that are near and dear to us in Melbourne.
If you follow Roscoe on Ross.Flanagan or My Love of Golf, you'll know exactly where that is.
Maybe.
Now, my course, which you can just see up there, it is the first hole. This is in New South Wales. It's a very good friend of mine and an excellent referee and rules guru in his own right. He's been captain at this club for 26 years straight.
Hats off to anyone that takes on a position as captain, president, or whatever role they take, because every golf club needs people like you. But as a son of someone who had my father was the president of our golf club, I reckon he's still alive, but I reckon it aged him prematurely being president of a golf club, some of the stuff that he had to deal with, and he did it for a few terms. And then handed the role over. But it takes a special person to be part of a club like that. So little shout out to all of you that represent clubs in an official capacity because you give your time up for free. Well done.
Actually, that's a really good point. I second that, Roscoe. If you are sitting on a committee, it's a lot of work. So it's mainly for those people that are semi-retired or retired, because it is a lot of work. Golfers love to complain. Rightio.
You've got an Ivor. What was your Ivor?
So I said the word innocuous, which is not a word. The word is innocuous. I thought it was quite innocuous that I said innocuous. Anyway, it's a big Ivor, especially since you'd actually used that word previously and you called me in for an Ivor for using it after you used it. But the fact was that I still pronounced it.
Innocuous. You're inoculate. We're about to be inoculated the globe over for what we've been going through, but no, innocuous. It's an adjective, Blakey, and in the dictionary it says not harmful or offensive.
Well, that was harmful and offensive, so maybe it was innocuous.
Okay,
anyway, let's move on from that.
So this week's you've got this week's
question now. We haven't quite got to 20 ticks or 20 thumbs up for our last episode. So you've escaped, Roscoe. You've escaped doing it in a German accent, but we will get there. I want 20 thumbs up for episode 32. 20 thumbs up for episode 32 on YouTube. And Roscoe will do it in a English language with a German accent.
I don't think I'm going to actually do that, David. But
You'll get there. We'll get you there. 20 thumbs up. That's not that many.
Oh, as I say, it's all right for the comedians to do impressions, but if you're a normal bloke on a normal podcast, so doing impressions can be anyway. We'll just leave it at that. Let's get the 20 ticks first, and then we'll have
this is Golf Rules Question of the Week. Episode 32.
Okay. It's a long one, so bear down for the last couple of minutes. Player A walks the course on the morning of their individual stroke round. During this process, they are holding and swinging a golf club, placing their feet in positions on the fairway and putting greens they are about to play. No ball was placed on the ground. They arrive at the tee just before their starting time and say to player B, before either of them play, "It's very wet out there. Probably best that you hit the ball low to keep it from embedding itself and potentially being lost. On the first hole, I would take the line close to the right trees." Sorry, I should have said that in the accent because it was still the person. Player A incurs how many penalty strokes?
That was very well spoken. Yes.
If anyone needs any audiobooks recording, I'm available. I've got all the gear. I'm looking for a little bit of cash on the side. If anyone does have an audiobook that I want recorded, amateur hour, but I'd love to. Anyway, I'm a bit full of myself on that. Thank you very much.
Roscoe is quite good with the voiceover, so looking for work.
Definitely.
It only takes one.
Okay, so just to summarise that, guys out in the course, before their round, they're doing their due diligence, preparing their self mentally and for the game. They will take a golf club out to get in the zone, start swinging it around, and then they get back to the tee before they head off and start dishing out the freebie advice.
Yeah, correct.
What's the situation, people?
How many penalty strokes does player A incur?
Blakey, I think that's us. We've kept it just under an hour of listening pleasure for the Golf Rules Questions fans. If there's nothing else from you, I think we'll wrap it up on that. What do you reckon? Yeah, no, episode 32 was really good. I thought that was fantastic, Roscoe. Episode 33, not sure how we're going to get it done with you being in Tassie. I might just have to roll solo on that one. There will be a fair bit in there because of sawgrass and a couple of instances. No, can't get that one out. That have happened. So, watch out for that. We'll get them up on the tube and we'll get it done. I'm not going away forever, mate. I'll be back. Don't worry. Okay. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Golf Rules Questions podcast.